Rules Committee and replacing Alderman Bradwell, who recently resigned. So this is my very first meeting, so I hope you'll bear with me. We've got a limited number of items on the agenda. We've got the proposed shooting range to discuss. We've got a process that we need to discuss about appointing Commissioner Deeds, and we've got a best value local law that we need to discuss. So we're going to start with the proposed shooting range. We're going to allow public comments. We'd like you to, if you can, keep the public comments to roughly about 2 minutes. Okay, well, let me ask the committee, how do you guys feel about moving Brian up? His presentation won't be more than 10 minutes.
So be a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, okay, thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Brian Woltman, who's going to come up and talk about best value local law. It should take about 10 minutes, so that should not even. So it should give everyone some time to settle in. If you need to get a drink of water, if anyone would like to still sign up, you're welcome to do so. So we'll give the floor to Brian.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman Eckert. I appreciate the courtesy of this, and congratulations on your new position. It's with increasing frequency that local governments all through the state of New York have been passing best value legislation. The last 3 years, New York State was the last state of the 50 states of the United States to allow local governments and school districts to purchase items considered on best value. And what does that mean? Best value means one of two things. First of all, it means if you're comparing pieces of equipment, if you have two very similar pieces of equipment, equipment A and equipment B, they're largely identical. So you receive bids for both of them. After you receive the bids, you may have equipment A may be at an initial lower price, equipment B may be marginally higher. But when you analyze over the useful life of this equipment, for example, a great example would be maybe a backhoe or maybe a truck, a vehicle. And after you analyze the use of this equipment over the useful life, you realize that while equipment A may have come in at a lower price, that bit, marginally lower, equipment B, when you analyze the usage of energy or gasoline or fuel, presents a best value over the expected useful life of this equipment. We're allowed now to take that into consideration and analyze that data at the time of bid, at the time the items are bid. So it doesn't make sense to buy an item while initially it's less expensive if it's going to cost you more to operate over the life of the item. The other thing best value legislation permits us to do, and it's really enabling legislation, it allows us to participate in what they call cooperative purchasing. There are several groups around the United States. There's the Houston-Galveston Area Council, which we are looking at for the acquisition of perhaps the new fire truck. There's the National Joint Powers Alliance Association, which accumulates and what these cooperatives do is they take in local bids and from participating agencies, they corral them and allow us to purchase off of them. It's similar to a state bid award with the one difference that there's a higher documentation threshold. We have the affidavit of advertisement for bids, the bid document, the bid submissions, the bid evaluations, the bid tabulations, and the award. And then what we have to do, once the award is made, we have to make sure that this item, when we're purchasing off of this contract, is largely, and there's always a little bit of latitude for customization between different agencies, and that's usually a percentage. We have to verify that we're buying an item that was actually awarded under these bid criteria. So, again, New York State was the last state in the United States to allow this. We wrote a best value legislation. I wrote it based on County of Onondaga, County of Albany, and Ulster County. We used the elements from their best value legislation, what they had previously passed. And along with Corporation Counsel, Corp Counsel Kevin Bryant, he refined it after I submitted it to him. And that's what we're submitting to the council, that this law that would enable us to participate primarily for our use in cooperative purchasing. And that would allow us, again, the recent example I'm sure you saw in the newspaper where the city is considering in the acquisition of the new fire truck using a national cooperative. And essentially that's the proposal.
Do you have any questions?
I met with the Finance Committee last week. We discussed this, and they approved the insertion of this language into the updated current policy and procedure manual. Well, we're required to pass, each agency, each local government in New York State is required to required to pass a local law accepting participation in best value purchasing, and then that needs to be filed with the Secretary of State.
Did you write us something to that, or did you write?
Yes, I did. I submitted to Council President Noble. Then I have extra copies of it with me.
Yeah, could you
I don't know.
I think I might have it.
I can distribute these.
I don't have anything pre-prepared.
Brian, you have enough or you want?
I have more than that. And we'll recycle whatever we don't use.
Brian, this is a vision of what you gave us at finance?
Yes, the Finance Committee, I provided the updated procurement policy and procedure manual. This is the actual language of the local law.
Okay.
And again, like I said, it was based primarily upon what we got from the County of Onondaga, the County of Albany, and the County of Ulster when they passed their local laws over the last 2 years. And it was submitted, and I worked along with Corporation Counsel Kevin Bryant to produce this. This is what we came up with.
I do not have the pre-prepared. Do you have one?
Of course.
He's the procurement guy. Okay, do you have this in program? Yeah, you just give us a copy.
All right, very good.
So, yeah, no.
Brian, I have a question.
Sure.
And I have
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
a question.
You have the floor.
So where under D3 it says about the cost of maintenance, so that's falls under
I'm sorry, I was on it. What was that?
the criteria may include shall not be any law cost of maintenance, approximately contract and so on. So that falls under our liability for the cost of the maintenance.
That takes into account. That allows us to take into account the cost of maintenance for these items.
So we would maintain that.
That's what this does, when we procure an item, this allows us, rather than just going at the bottom line what the bid price was, we're allowed to factor in the cost of the maintenance, the cost of operation, the cost of operating this item and keeping it in our regular fleet of equipment. It's an added factor that we're allowed during the bid process to factor in. It's a little extra data that we're allowed to factor in because sometimes if you get a bid price where the items are pretty close,
Right.
if an item costs more to operate over its useful life, it's really not the best value.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? A motion motion to adopt a local law of the state of Kingston, New York, authorizing best value competitive bidding and procurement. Second?
Second.
And to vote, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? I'll pass on the sheet. Can you vote? Yeah. Oh, okay. And we have a request to just move the other issue up, and that is the issue of commissioner deeds. Thank you very much, Brian. In terms of the Commissioner of Deeds, there should have been a packet that went out from Carly, and essentially one of the things we need to consider here is putting in place criteria and a system for selecting Commissioner of Deeds, which is not very coherent or systematized as it stands now. So the idea here is to get the packet out, to have you guys review it, think about it, and discuss what some of those criteria and what the process might look like. Do we have any questions? When we had one request, a letter came in from Jeremy Blaber. These decisions historically have been made in June. So the time to make these decisions, make these appointments again, will be coming up in June. And we have some time in between to figure out if we want to do this in a different manner. I don't know if Jeremy is here. Is Jeremy Blaber here?
We don't have a process yet. So
We don't. Yeah, we don't have a process in order. And if we want to do that at a later date, we can invite him. Okay. All right. So we'll dispense with these two other agenda items and get to the main event, which is the shooting range. I want to thank everyone for coming out, especially on election night. Local government always works best when the people get to speak directly to their elected officials. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to come out and to speak your mind, whether you're for or against or somewhere in between, in deciding about this proposed shooting range. So there are other members of the council who are far more experienced at this than I am, and they suggested that we have 3 of you come up at a time. So there'll be like a waiting line, right? Like one person will begin to speak and the other 2 will wait in line, and after that person's done, the second and then the third, and then we'll call another 3 out. Yeah, and also for the record, if you could state your name and your address, that would be usually helpful to us. And just one other issue, and that is that this is not a debate about the Second Amendment. So we want to be clear about that. And if you could just confine your comments to the shooting range proposal in front of us, that would be helpful. And also, we've got a lot of people who want to speak. So if you could just listen to the speaker before you, and if they're going, if you are going to restate largely what they have already said, to maybe step aside in the interest of time. And the other issue is we'd like to try and keep it to 2 minutes per speaker. Again, name and address, and listen to the comments before you. So with that, we'll begin. I'll call out the first 3 names, unless there are any comments from members of the council. Okay. So I have Mark Gersel, Diane Bonavita, and Timothy Ivory. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members. My issues is quite simple. Oh, I'm sorry. Mark Gerstel, 161 Heritage Drive, Pearl Lake, New York. I'm sorry?
Can you speak into the microphone? I think people want to make sure hearing you.
You got to speak closer.
And I just want to encourage the quorum here. There are probably a lot of differences, and it might get contentious, but we should all be mutually respectful.
Thank you. It's Mark Gerstow, 161 Heritage Drive, Hurley, New York. Thank you. I'd like to just bring to your attention several points. That people like myself belong to gun clubs. We represent several thousand people, ranging in age, ranging in gender, and ranging in profession. And to the best of my knowledge, not one of us has ever been convicted of a crime dealing with weapons. What I'm saying tonight is very important in that, number one, by putting the gun range on the tax records, we will be bringing money into our town. Further, we will be educating children. I've spoken to the owner who said anyone who is against the building and the bringing in of the gun club, he is willing to walk you through what will be done, what will be the protections, and how safe using a weapon respected by those who own them and carry them, and how safe it will be. So I ask you, before you make your decision, to please take into account the economic. It will create jobs. Economic, it will put money onto the tax bill, and it will educate. It will educate the people, because those who are committing crimes don't belong to a gun club, don't have licenses, and it may prevent people from, it may cause people to get licenses. I thank you for your time.
State your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Diane Bonavita. I live at 93 Andrew Street here in Kingston. And I've been a resident for over 30 years. I've never been a proponent of any firearms, especially after the multitudes of mass shootings and gun violence that has impacted our country. It seems the harder the anti-gun lobby pushes, the harder the NRA and gun activists push back, twisting the facts. Guns are not going away. We need a way to work together, and the proposed shooting range here in Kingston is a responsible way to start dealing with the issue. All the proper vetting and security has been addressed. If the Kingston High School students are looking for trouble, they will find it on the road. Reasonable gun owners need to have a location to be educated and practice. Dr. Sawyer is respected in the community and a homeowner. I'm an RN and have worked over the years with Dr. Sawyer, taking care of many victims of gun mismanagement. He is vested in the city of Kingston. I have also worked with Alderman Mills and Brown on committees and find them to be reliable and responsible stewards for the city of Kingston. I support the legislation for the Prince Street gun facility. I want gun safety to start in Kingston. Thank you.
My name is Tim Ivory. I live at 108 East Strand. 15-year 9/11 transplant. I like Kingston. I plan on staying a while. Judging by the amount of people here, I get the impression that, well, it looks like we're here to debate it, gun ownership, as opposed to talking about having a safe place to practice firearm proficiency. The debate is over. The guns are here. If you want to change that, the elections are at the end of the year. You can work out that end of it. For people that are anti-gun, I'm going to try to describe what it is that you're creating by keeping this range from happening. Picture a person, he's in his home, it's nighttime, he hears loud noise, and he has no decent experience with firearms. And he's got his gun, and he's worried about who's coming through the door. There's the dog, shot the kid. Everybody's a little anxious. You take the time to practice proficiency with a firearm, you learn how to have a little bit of control, command. You assess situations, because you know whatever decision you're going to make could be a last decision for somebody, including yourself. By denying a practical place for a person to train and have that proficiency, you're going to create that. You want this. This is here to stay regardless of what your opinions are of firearms. So the right thing is to make sure we have a place to practice and gain proficiency. Thank you.
Thank you. So the speakers are Rebecca Martin, Jeannie Edwards, and Bill Forte. And I just want to remind people that this can't be a debate about the Second Amendment. That's not what the issue here is. You have the floor. Just name and address.
Good evening, Rebecca Martin, 68 Westchester Street, Kingston. I'm a resident of Kingston, living only a handful of blocks away from the proposed shooting range and gun shop that's being proposed. And I had a chance to read the text that was submitted by Boardman Alderwoman Deb Brown, who has requested an amendment of the City of Kingston's firearms law this evening in order to accommodate a proposal for a shooting range and gun shop in the town of Kingston. In the spirit of public safety and health, I am supportive of making laws more clear for the betterment of our community. However, a law should not be amended in one session of any council committee meeting, and laws should not be amended to accommodate a single project. Instead, any law must be vetted for public safety, health, and welfare, and that's what the public expects its Laws and Rules Committee to take on very seriously. To vote this out of committee tonight would be premature. Therefore, I am asking that the Laws and Rules Committee table amending the firearms law tonight and allow yourselves, as representatives of the public and the public itself, the time required to address dozens of important issues that have been raised around the subject. Thank you.
Jeannie Edwards, 66 Liberty Street, Kingston, New York. Thank you for your time. I have a few things. I live in Midtown. Did anybody ever see someone get shot in blood on doorsteps? Uneducated kids just shooting guns. I lived in the Bronx for many years, never seen a gun. I moved to Kingston, New York. On my front steps, a young kid passing a gun to another young kid. No education on guns whatsoever. To bring this into our city, first of all, the taxes. We have a tax-paying business, hurrah. The protection that the federal government gives, the state gives, over these places is wonderful. Would we have this kind of discussion over archery, where people get hurt too? Our fight isn't about the amendment and everything. It's because we are allowed to have guns. That's not the argument here. The argument here is, are we going to allow it in our town to be legal, controlled? Guns are not what kill. The mindset of a murderer is what kills. Cars don't kill. Drunken drivers kill. Irresponsible people using things that they have no idea what can do harm to other people. The education to our young people will be wonderful. Throughout the school system, I'm sure they will have something lined up. This is a controlled atmosphere that's watched by the federal government. Hello, what are we waiting for? That's the way I feel. I also feel that this, for the taxpayers to see a thriving business, there are some of us that just like guns, just like archery. We don't have to be using them to hold up people. So let's get ourselves educated here. Let's look at the statistics. You know, I mean, we have Google. Let's Google it. You know, let's really get on board and support this. When I see the other kids in my town, I go out my door every day and I'm looking at gun shops. When I first moved up here, I had my family laying on the floor putting mattresses on top of us, and this is not no joke, it's not no exaggeration, because young kids are not educated on how to handle guns. Let's do this thing here. And let me tell you, when you see a police officer laying on the ground and his taser being taken away, that does something to your psyche, doesn't it? Because they're the ones out there protecting us. Our young kids don't have any fears. Let's teach them correctly. I was brought up in Gardner. I went to school in York Hill. We hunted for our food. We had guns throughout our house. My father worked for the New York Telephone Company. Normal family. None of us ever shot each other. So, but you know what? It might have helped way back when to have places like that to teach young children how to use the guns properly instead of going back to a shell pit and just shooting their cans. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
My name is Bill Forte. I live in Linderman Avenue here in Kingston. Madam Chairman, I realize I have only 2 minutes. I ask that you indulge me for one moment. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This law, as it currently stands, would forbid our veterans organizations from conducting the honors that we give to our fellow veterans when they're laid to rest. Within the city of Kingston, we do 50, sometimes 60 or more funerals in the course of a year. We've done 2, and in some cases 3 in a single day. The families are honored when we show up at the cemetery and we fire the salute to their loved one who's being laid to rest. If the law that's been cited, that's being used to deny this range, if it stands, who's going to tell these families that they can't have that salute? It's just not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Arthur Curry, Gwen Sorensen, and Maya Colangelo.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Perry from 11 Hansworth Place, Kingston, New York. I'm a lifelong resident of the city and also the same neighborhood as the proposed range. I'm here in support of the proposed shooting range by Dr. Adam Sawyer at 90 Prince Street in the city of Kingston. I believe that said shooting range will be safe, will serve the good of the public, and increase traffic and commerce to Midtown. Therefore, I ask for clarification to local law number 3, 1984, the law that bans the discharge of firearms inside the city limit, except in self-defense or discharge of official duty. Official duty is not defined. Official duty by whom? Doing what? Could the exception for self-defense also apply to professional training in the proper handling and use of a firearm in a well-designed indoor range? Does the law outlaw the discharge of firearms in the city streets by reenactors during the burning of Kingston? Or are they conducting official business? The law as written leaves a lot to the imagination and therefore is subject to being enforced discriminately. I do not believe that the spirit of the law was to ban reenactors or indoor ranges. It was to ban outdoor shooting inside crowded city limits, and rightfully so. Responsible armed citizens know that safety comes first, and that rights come with responsibility. Handling a handgun can be done safely, but it requires more training than with a long gun. It is at the range that safety protocols are taught by both instructors and more experienced shooters. At any range I've been on, a culture of safety prevails first, above all. With any number of different shooters practicing in close proximity, safety is never optional. It is in the public interest to have a place where people can obtain professional training and practice proficiency with their firearms. It's been great to see the beginnings of revitalization in Midtown Kingston. Many from outside have expressed support for the range. Instead of this being a detriment, as some have alluded, I believe that this shows what an asset the range could be. Drawing traffic and business into Midtown from outside the city is just what we need. After going to the range with your friends, many will decide to eat at a local restaurant or patronize other establishments while in town. This is exactly the type of business that Kingston desperately needs. No grant money, no tax breaks needed. I know it'll be a successful business model because Dr. Sawyer will be investing his own money, not that of the taxpayers. Please don't chase a great business away because of unfounded fear and a thinly veiled opposition to the Second Amendment. Thank you.
My name is Matt Colangelo, located 84 Glen Street in the city of Kingston. And I came here tonight because I thought my Second Amendment was being encroached on, but now I think my First is being encroached on. I also came here because I wanted to replenish the city's supply of red tape. Because I'm convinced that it's been wasted on trying to prevent this proposal from happening. But don't tell me this is about public safety, because if it was, then we should ban all the convenience stores that are within 1,000 feet of a school, because they sell cigarettes, they sell beer. You tell me this is about public safety, then we need to ban spoons because they make people fat. We need to ban pencils because they misspell words. And if it's about public safety, then we need to ban cars because they drive drunk. Don't tell me it's not about the Second Amendment when your own interpretation, our own elected leaders' reasoning is that a law was created 30 years ago restricting residents that live within the boundaries of the city of Kingston from discharging a firearm. Last time I checked, the Second Amendment applied to residents that live in the geographic boundaries of the United States of America. And any attempt to encroach on that is the reason why it was created. So I encourage you to allow this to happen because this is something that would be of benefit. Instead, the city is wasting an enormous amount of time on an issue that, quite frankly, we shouldn't be even discussing. What we should be discussing is why we have a $10 million hole in the ground. Why do we have infrastructure that's failing? It's mind-boggling that we devote this energy to these issues. And it's impressive that everybody's here tonight. Well, look around you, the city's crumbling. Taxes are through the roof, businesses are leaving, and we're preventing our own growth. This is something that I believe should happen, and I know that a lot of people in this room believe should happen, so I encourage you to stop encroaching on our Second Amendment. Thank you.
Matt, can I just get your address for the record,
84 Glen Street.
in Kingston?
That's right.
No, just state for the record. You did? Okay.
Hi, I'm Gwen Sorensen, 470 Broadway, which is Stones and Food Company. And I really feel that we have to reiterate this is not about pro-gun or anti-gun. This is not a gun issue. This is about an existing law on the books that if people disagree with said law, that we need to take time, as Rebecca said previously, to look at it and change it, but not in a session like this. I don't believe financial gains or people who are pro-guns should be influencing a decision on this matter. The law was passed because of public safety issues. If we want to change the law, there are ways to do that. I don't think this is the time or the place to do that. You have to look at the spirit of the law, why it was passed, and if we oppose it, then we change it. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we we have Hillary Harvey, Owen Harvey, and Pamela Blum.
Hello, my name is Hillary Harvey, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Teresa and Michael Jackin. They're residents of Ward 9 on West Pierpont Street. I'm not sure of the exact number. And they own a business in Ward 8. They couldn't be here and asked me to read this statement from them. Our appointed city commissions and boards are tasked with determining what will contribute to the appropriate type of economic development of the city. Before approving any type of commercial development, it is our responsibility to be assured that demonstrated gains outweigh potential losses, and any decision should look to enhance quality of life in Kingston. For Jane Jacobs, one of the main characteristics of a thriving urban city center is that people feel safe and secure in public spaces, despite being amongst complete strangers. Unlike other recreational activities, shooting ranges pose a risk to both users and the surrounding public. We are strongly against the proposed business for a number of reasons. The need to amend a law created to prevent the discharge of firearms in the city of Kingston, the location of the range in proximity to Kingston High School, the YMCA, the Kingston Farm Project, Building a Better Broadway Initiative, the Center for Creative Education, and Kingston City Hall. The operators of gun range can control how weapons are used there. However, once a gun leaves the premises, it is out of their control. There have been studies on the relationships between shooting ranges and suicides, other fatal gun incidents, and lead contamination. The potential for decreasing property values of surrounding residents and businesses. We believe it is our responsibility to create and sustain public spaces that build stronger communities by encouraging and attracting appropriate new businesses that highlight local assets, spur rejuvenation, and serve common needs. This proposal is currently a polarizing commercial enterprise in a residential neighborhood, which would provide entertainment for a minority of people with risks to public safety. Thank you for hearing our voice and respecting our position. Michael and Teresa Draken. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Owen Harvey. I live at 26 Beale Street in Kingston, New York. I'm here tonight speaking for myself and on behalf of my wife, Hillary. As Kingston residents and the parents of 3 young children, we would be remiss if we did not express our opposition to the amending of any law that pertains to the discharging of firearms in the city. It is worrisome that Kingston would aspire to be known as a place where guns are carried in and out, bought and sold and rented. A gun shop in Midtown, near the high school, the YMCA, daycare, a hospital in City Hall. It is insulting. Any proposed amendment should focus on the means to protect the public from further exposure to firearms, not open the city to unsought further use. If the law outlining the discharge of firearms is amended, it should include language to prohibit the sales, rental, and use of firearms for recreational use within a certain distance of schools and daycares. Our laws should protect our children, not open them up to risk. Considering all the important issues at play in this, we ask that you please table this decision and take more time to vet the community's concerns. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Pamela Blum. I live at 177 Hunter Street in Kingston, and my views reflect a number of our neighbors. I believe it's inappropriate to change a law aimed at everyone's public safety for one person's business gain at the possible expense of others' safety. The law is there to protect people from the danger of guns, and we should not set a precedent of overturning the firearms law in favor of one business. Midtown has a growing arts district. Businesses in that area need careful manual control. There are manufacturers who do very precise work in that area. It could be that sound will disrupt the businesses as well as the residents. And I would like you to picture one rogue person in a shooting range facility, leaving that facility and causing damage. Thank you.
Thank you. David Myers, and Lynn Johnson.
My name is Richard Frumas. I live at 177 Hunter Street. I've lived there for 21 years. I run a manufacturing business in Midtown on Pembroke Avenue. And I want to say that up until recently, I've sort of been on the sidelines of this issue. As one of the founders of the current Arts District movement, I'm very much in favor of bringing arts businesses to the area of creating a certain kind of environment that encourages further growth of that. On the other hand, I'm extremely wary of prescribing what businesses should be and shouldn't be in an area. However, because there's a law on the books, making an amendment to that law is tantamount to making a zoning change. To say this kind of business, an exception should be made for this kind of business as opposed to that kind of business. And that very much does affect what we're trying to do in revitalizing Midtown. Much work has gone in recently, in the last 2 years or more, to developing a comprehensive plan for the city. This is something included in that plan is the development and revitalization of the Midtown area. The question is a business like this going to add to that, or is it possibly going to detract from that? That's really the issue that that making an amendment to this law really addresses. So I urge you not to make an amendment to this law. There is maybe there are reasons maybe that some people feel to make it, but I think there are overwhelming reasons to keep the law as is. There are bigger issues involved in the development of Kingston. People talked about how possibly this business would be bringing people in on a very limited, it would be on a very limited subject. The broader issue, the broader possibilities of creating an arts district will bring far more. And I hope we can say that.
Hi, I'm Joanne Myers, 56 of Beale Street.
Congratulations, my colleague. So I don't believe that we should change any law or amend any law for one business only. I think that we need a lot of time to think about what what doors that would open. I'm all for public safety. I'm all for gun safety. I do not believe that this is the time or place to change a law for one business. Thank you. Thank you.
Lynn Johnson, 44 West Chestnut Street in Kingston. I agree with Joanne and others that to amend a public safety law for the benefit of a business in a rushed manner is not a good idea. And I would urge the council to table this matter and think about it further. Secondly, if I may say so, at least personally, this is not an issue of people being allowed to own licensed guns, nor is it an issue of gun safety and practicing gun safety. That certainly would be a good idea. To me, it's all a matter of the location. In Midtown, near a school, near the Y, near City Hall and the hospital. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. John Grossbolden and Joe Marini. I apologize if I mispronounced your name.
Thank you very much. I'm Ken Cooper. I live on Mountain Street in Kingston. I've been in Kingston since 1974. I own a few businesses. Some of you may remember Sherlock's. It's a restaurant. I own THT of New York, a firearms training facility. My first business for THT was on 90 Prince Street in that building. That's a firearms training academy. And I'm a safety trainer. I'm a state certified instructor. I testify in court a lot. I'm an expert witness. And I'm also director of security of a small private college. I'm a proud member of the Federation of Sportsmen. And I'm very, very fiercely protective of our city. I'm going to address the people that are really not pro-gun or pro-range. I'm a safety trainer, and I think it's very critical that I need a place to train. We have so many people getting firearms. It's been stated before that there are a lot of firearms in this county, in this country. We need people to be able to know how to use them, when not to use them. I testify as an expert in the use of force. I train people on the skill level. The Ulster County program that's being used for safety is a program I wrote about 30 years ago. And I think it's very, very critical that we have a place, a safe place, that especially the other species, not my species, but females, women, who are getting guns in a higher percentage than anybody else, have a safe and very, very safe place to train. One gun club sometimes inhibits some of that training. So I'm very supportive of a very very safe place to train people in the county, in the city of Kingston. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Grossbolden, 16 Quarter Street, Kingston. And I think one of the things that troubles me most about these discussions is that a lot of the folks opposed to the range make inferences about who the gun owners are. They suggest that it's unsafe to have near the high school, near the Y, etc. But who are the gun owners? Just looking around this room, I know that there's folks in here who are computer programmers, they're physicians, they're lawyers. In some cases, they're school administrators, they're teachers, they're college professors, they're nurses. Which of these people do you think should not be coming into Kingston and spending their money in Kingston? Now, it's not a homogeneous group of gun nuts. It's a very diverse population of people that own firearms, and they represent all races, all socioeconomic groups, all religions, and all professions. I've known clergymen that carry guns. And certainly plenty of folks in the academic world, which I participated in for quite a number of years. A lot of college professors, administrators, administrative assistants for the college presidents. It's not just a bunch of people that are all the same that are gun nuts, which is unfortunately the way gun owners are often viewed. It's a very diverse cross-section of people, and I find it really troubling that a lot of times inferences are made that somehow this very diverse cross-section of people are a threat to the high school or the Y or City Hall or any other institution or neighborhood. I'd like you to think about that. It's a lot of different diverse people that we're talking about here. Thank you.
My name is Joe Leone. I live in Tulsa, New York. I'm president of Federated Sportsman Club, Ulster County. I'm here speaking tonight on behalf of our Kingston members and our Ulster County members. We're not here to pick a fight with the city of Kingston, but we're here supporting one of our members who we feel was being treated unfairly. This was a planning board issue with an applicant. The city and the administration decided to pander to one or more of its support groups. How can we stop this gun range? Let's throw in the 1978 law. Can't discharge a firearm in the city limits. Really? How many times and how many shots and shootings have been in Kingston since 1978? How many of those criminals or people were prosecuted by this law? 0. We researched it, we couldn't find any. If there are any, show them to me and I'll correct my statement. No one charged, but all of a sudden, this applies to this shooting range. How many 1st and 3rd Ulster militia men were charged for discharging a weapon? They shoot up the city of Kingston every 2 years and burn it. The statute doesn't exempt reenactors. It would be ridiculous to apply it here. So, too, it would be ridiculous to apply it to this range. There were ranges and gun stores in the city of Kingston when this law went into effect. It didn't forbid any future ones, and it didn't grandfather any existing ones. To defend this law in court would expend a lot of city money, and it would tie up your corporate counsel for hundreds of hours, only to get it shredded in the end. This amendment is a way for the city and the administration to save face for jumping in on this too early. This was a planning board issue, a job to do for the planning board, and it was pulled away from it. You support qualified people and appoint them to the planning board. You should trust them and let them handle it and not interfere. The planning board could have approved this or denied the application, and the applicant could have appealed it if he desired through the proper channels. None of us would have been here. This law doesn't apply to this range, but class the amendment and send it back to the planning board. This is a zoning and special use issue. Don't make it a gun issue. Businesses will fill in the surrounding empty buildings once the range is operational. The city needs to decide if it's anti-business or anti-gun or both. Clean up the businesses like the Grand Slam Bar 2 blocks away from the proposed range that the Kingston police are always calling to. It gives this city a black eye. Support private businesses. Don't pander to groups that move into the area that don't pay the city bills or taxes. Listen to the people that were born and raised in the city of Kingston and in Ulster County that pay the city bills. Thank you for reviewing this law, and I ask you to pass it and move on. You have more important things to do. This isn't an issue that's going to hurt the city of Kingston. Thank you.
And Mark Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee members. My wife was delayed picking up her son, so I'm going to yield a minute to her. She has some information on proximity issues that are relevant.
Sure.
I'm Adam Sawyer. I live at 184 Albany Avenue. I've been here for 18 years. I've raised a family here, and my wife and I are invested heavily in real estate in this city. We've called this city home for a long time. I have a practice in Kingston in orthopedic surgery, and my family and I love it here. And we would never do anything to jeopardize the city in any way or compromise the safety of its citizens. I'm the owner of Safe Shoot LLC, and I'm presenting a business to Kingston. And the business is going to create middle-income jobs. 10 most likely, possibly more, possibly less. It's going to attract about 1,000 people to Midtown Kingston that would not have come here for any other reason except for this business. So to speak to one of the gentleman's comments about these select group of people coming to the city for only one reason, they're going to go out to the other businesses. They are going to frequent maybe the artist galleries. They're going to frequent the eateries. They're going to frequent the other businesses here, and it's going to create an economic boost that Kingston has not seen for a very long time. This range is also going to provide an invaluable resource to over 20,000 licensed pistol permit holders in Ulster and the surrounding counties. And as a number of people had mentioned before, about 40+% of them are women. And presently, you do not have an indoor shooting range in and around Ulster County or the surrounding counties within 60 to 75 miles. So I actually was going to say a few other things, but I want to just address one important thing. It's that this is not an unprecedented issue. You think it is, but it isn't. Just north of us in Troy, in Green Island, Ellen McNulty, the mayor of Green Island, who is a Democrat and is vocally anti-gun, got a presentation from someone who's similar to me, who had a good idea about an economic boost to their city. He wanted to bring in a gun range to the town. Now, interestingly, they had the same law on the books in Green Island. And what do you think Ellen McNulty did? She said, I am completely anti-gun, I'm a Democrat. However, the citizens of Green Island need a place to safely practice with their firearms to contribute to the safety of the community. I think this is a great business model. Todd Grimm, who is the owner of the range, who is invested maybe longer than I've been in Kingston, but he's been in Troy for a number of years with a family business, and it eventually was able to open up a range there which has been successful. They've created a relationship with the city which has been not there for 100 years, and presently they have a great relationship with the police. The crime is insignificant in their city. So Ellen McNulty had a very, very difficult task at hand. She had a vision, though, for her city. She had a vision for the safety of her residents. She had a vision for economic development. Now, I hear about a comprehensive plan. I've been here for 18 years. I am heavily invested in this community. I have never been asked to even comment on this comprehensive plan. I'm not sure who has been the appointees to this committee, but I'd be certainly happy to discuss it with them if I'm allowed to. So, with that said, I think it's important now to look at this from a comprehensive perspective, and I hope you have a similar vision as Ellen McNulty did up in Green Island, and give the community what they are so desperately seeking. And I'm going to turn this over to my wife, who has some information to hopefully allay some of the fears you have with proximity issues with ranges to other businesses and schools. Thank you very much.
Yes, hi, my name is Renata Sawyer, I'm 84 Oldney Avenue, and thank you for letting me jump in. I had to pick up my son at a track meet. As Adam just said, we've been here for 18 years, and there's been a lot of talk of this burgeoning art community, and I just want to let people know that when we moved here, this building was shuttered. Shuttered, there was nothing going on, it was slated to be demolished. And we moved up to Oldney Avenue. We raised our 3 kids, 2 of whom are here tonight. They're great, upstanding young men. And as a mother, I am very concerned about guns on the street. I'm concerned about guns in the school and all the insanity going on. So I don't understand why we cannot make it so that people who are permitted gun owners have a place to safely practice. That is very important. And so this law is going to be changed. It is not for one business. It is for the 20,000 and counting